The mission was clear: 3 points and keep our destiny in our hands. Neil Harris's men condemned Barrow to the bottom of the 92 and gave us a confidence boost ahead of next week's promotion showdown. We're back in the top 3 with just the one game to go. Hello everyone, and a very warm welcome to Under the Abbey Stand. This is your review show. I'm Jordan Warland. I hope you're feeling good. I hope the nerves are okay. It's going to be a long, long week. As always, I have a panel with me. The last time I did a review pod with this panelist, I called him the chairman of the James Gibbons fan club. I suspect after Saturday, applications have gone through the roof yet again, Tom.
Yeah, so much admin to be doing. So much admin. Yeah. Yeah. What an afternoon. And look, we'll talk about his goal, talk about the game. It was an absolutely textbook example of a goal from Gibbons where I was absolutely screaming at him to pass it out wide.
Yeah.
And like there were a couple of occasions, actually there was one in the first half I think led to the first goal where players that you might not associate with that sort of strike and that sort of effort, like Don Ball, for example, I think that's what led to the first goal, are urged quite heavily to shoot, and you're like, don't fucking shoot, just like keep your nerve, get it out wide, let's keep it going. And that's exactly what I thought with Gibbons. But yeah, obviously couldn't have been proved more wrong. Yeah, good afternoon, and we've got a bit of a week now. It's gonna be
it'll be so long.
Yeah, like it is gonna feel like seconds take hours during the week, and particularly towards the end of the week, I think it's gonna be quite difficult to think of much else other than all the scenarios, all the possibilities of Crewe away going the way that hopefully we want it to, but the anxiety, the nerves will start to kick in and you'll be able to think of nothing but it not going the way we want it to. So yeah, it's a pretty brutal cycle, this running lark, but yeah, could not have hoped for a better start on Saturday, I guess.
Good news, Tom, you're on the preview show, just checking the old schedule here. That means our final panelist doesn't have to worry about previewing that one on Friday morning. You've heard his voice. Good evening, Matt Caspell.
Hello, mate. Yeah, no, it is a good evening, isn't it? Yeah, just a really good afternoon at the Abbey again. We've had a few of these lately. James Gibbons is just such a bloke. What a guy, to be honest. I hurt myself celebrating that goal quite badly. I think I've got like an elbow in the shoulder blade. So I've got it's like having a dead leg, the shoulder blade version today. So it's been tough. Apart from that, it's all good.
Need the shoulders to help with the golf swing, don't you?
I need more than that to help with my golf swing, mate. The shoulders are the last of my worries. Jesus.
You're not wanting the playoffs because you don't want to eat into more golf time, right?
It will impact the golf season. Yeah, the golf season's just it's on pause at the moment. Got all sorts as well. Holiday. I've got a holiday planned. I think I've planned a holiday for the day after the second leg of the semi-finals, and then to get back the day before the final. So
perfect build up.
Perfect unless you go in the playoffs and you get dumped out of the semis. Literally have to watch us lose the second leg and then pretend to enjoy my holiday afterwards. Just be temperamentally lying on a beach somewhere.
Well, we're not on the beach yet. Let's hope Crewe are. Let's get some pods done. Tom, it was a hot Saturday. I even wore my shorts. So how about some hot takes from your good self to start us off?
Yeah, me too. I think we can mark Saturday. This will get a few comments, I guess, and people will disagree, but I think we can definitely mark Saturday as the official return of short season.
Matt Caspell was wearing black skinny jeans. We just need to get that in. We need to get that into the pod there.
Do you know why? Because when I left the house, it's fucking 2 degrees or whatever it was, 1 degree. I had my jacket, my jeans. It was a disaster out there. A real mess from me.
Yeah, I made the... I think like during the day it felt like a mistake, but then in the evening you always got to plan ahead for these things. I had 2 quite thin jackets on top of a t-shirt, which added up, made me quite warm in the sort of like 24, 25 degree searing heat of Cambridge during the afternoon. But yeah, I guess in terms of the game, like I mentioned it just a second ago, like you probably couldn't have hoped for a better, the game to really go too much better, I think. I wasn't obviously on the pod following the Grimsby game. or following the Salford Bromley game in midweek. And to be honest, like I think overall, like I was feeling pretty negative after those two games. Not really in the sense that like we wouldn't be able to deliver what we want to deliver, because obviously mathematically it was and it still is very much in our own hands, and arguably that's a good thing. You know, obviously it does mean that you've kind of got to deliver on it, and you've only got yourself as a blame if it doesn't go the way you want. But it was more just the fact, and even as dominant and as good as we were against Barrow, there was still tinge just a slight bit of regret that wasn't the day. To be honest, I think it kind of had everything else. It kind of feels like a day and a performance and a result and a situation which kind of deserved it to merit something and deserved basically a promotion at the end of it, and it feels like the way we've actually performed over the last probably 5 or 6 weeks in terms of XG, in terms of chance creation, in terms of basically it's been better than pretty much every team that we've played. I think Grimsby was an even game, but other than that, we've been basically the better side in every fixture that we've had recently, but not being able to finish it off. I mean, it was just so frustrating. And I think there were a lot of questions asked, or something. I asked a lot of questions and was thinking, and look, there is obviously one big game to come, which will basically define this. But I was really starting to doubt how much you can trust this group of players. To be honest, obviously 6 occasions during the season we dropped points in stoppage time that amounted to 11 points. Some of those against teams in and around us. Obviously, Grimsby were sort of down our throats. MK Dons obviously got promoted on Saturday. Swindon as well, who obviously looked a game which increasingly looks like 2 really pissed away points, basically. And I think before Saturday, if you had to kind of plan out how the performance would go and how the game would look, I think what happened was basically exactly it. Look, obviously, Barrow didn't offer really anything. The first basically leading up to the first goal felt maybe a little bit nervy because you are just waiting for that breakthrough just to settle the nerves and kind of calm you down. But realistically, when you look back on it, literally from the second the game kicks off to the game finishing, it's just total domination. And it's a sort of statement performance that we needed, because there's a world in which we go out and we smash them 7-0 or something like that. And we probably could have done on Saturday, really. And maybe that doesn't put you in the best mental frame for the following game. Or it's a bit of a struggle and you kind of limp over the line and all right, it's 3 points, but it still leaves a lot of questions there. But what we actually did was probably just the perfect middle ground between those two outcomes, which is you're dominant, you take chances when you need to, you're able to conserve energy, you're able to be precautionary with players like Watts, who obviously comes off. You kind of make sure you're in the right frame of mind and the right kind of physical condition to go again next Saturday. It answered a lot of questions in terms of players turning up, players performing, just doing a job in front of them and doing it really comfortably. And yeah, obviously sets us up for a real, a bit of a kind of grandstand finish at Crewe, hopefully. But yeah, good afternoon, good performance. And we roll on to next week. Just one more time to do it, and well, hopefully just one more time, of course. And it basically, I guess what I would say is it's the sort of performance that, and this sounds obvious because obviously it's half of the job done very well, and obviously if you win one of the 2 remaining games, clearly your job becomes much easier and that sort of thing. But it does make you feel a hell of a lot more confident going into next Saturday that we're going to be able to do what we want to or need to.
Absolutely. Yes, it was a very professional and dominant performance, wasn't it? Caspell, after the game, Neil Harris talked about the mental strength to keep going in the game. Obviously it took a little while to get that first goal and then get the second goal. How did you feel with the response that you saw on Saturday to what we went through on Tuesday night? And yeah, does it inspire confidence going into the final weekend for you?
I mean, we have to take confidence, right? I think we always got to talk ourselves into it now. I thought we started a little bit slow, actually. Not slow in a really bad way, but just felt like we maybe, and this has just been mega critical, obviously, after a 3-0 home win, but I just wondered, I was just getting a bit nervous after 20, 25 minutes that we weren't quite moving the ball quick enough to really break through it, if you know what I mean.
The first highlight on the small highlights, not the extended highlights that you get on CUFC TV, was the Barrow free kick, which was absolutely nowhere near going in, but made it into the highlights anyway.
They've just been kind to Barrow, I think. I mean, again, worth pointing out, another game where we've not conceded a shot on target. That is unreal. It must be 5-6 games now this season. We've had so many in the last sort of 6 weeks. Absolutely incredible. But yeah, no, I was just getting a little bit itchy half hour or so. I was like, we just look a bit one-paced here. But to be fair, as soon as we got the goal, I mean, we never looked at any danger at any stage, but as soon as we got the goal, felt like that was it. And you started to really think we'd be turning the screw on them. They have to take confidence. They would just simply have to take confidence into that game anyway. I think the only thing you'd say is that Barrow were obviously not up to lows. There's a reason now they're bottom of the league, looking like they're basically gone but for goal difference. So we've put away a pretty poor team, but we've put them away really confidently, really well. I don't think there's a lot more that we actually could have done on Saturday with the team in front of us. Shame about Sally Kai obviously, but it looks like everyone else has come through it without any major issues, hopefully. So we'll find out more on that press and do the preview pod later in the week. But yeah, no, we've got to take confidence. We just got one more big hurdle to get over. I feel like we said it a lot on the pod this season, but every time we've had a big test or we've needed to do something, I feel like we've done it this season. So we've got one more thing we need to do. It's just probably the biggest, most important thing we'll do all season. And obviously, rumours swirling around that Shane Lavery is likely to be included in the squad for next Saturday. That'll definitely help with our confidence levels as well.
He will be.
Yes, please.
Of course he will be. I mean, there's an argument that even if he's just not fit, he's the one that's going to be in the right place at the right time, or you'd back him to be. And even if he can't contribute to like 15, 20 minutes of running, if you find yourself needing a goal and you bring one in the 90th minute and you're like, don't worry about running, just be in the right place and just be instinctive if something comes up. I think the point about responding to setbacks is fair. I mean, I would kind of push back on the idea that every time we've needed to do something this season, we've delivered on it, because there's been obviously particularly those 6 examples of dropping points in stoppage time where actually mentally we've looked pretty fragile and we've looked pretty vulnerable. And all right, it might not come through like conceding loads of chances and like hanging on in games like that, but factually, like we've dropped a lot of points in key moments when the pressure's really been on. And I think that's why the Barrow game was exactly what you wanted, just because the pressure was really on for Saturday. And I know we're playing against realistically a very, very poor team. And I didn't see all the Gillingham games, so maybe you guys might disagree, but probably the poorest version of a team that I've seen this season was Barrow, and we put them away pretty comfortably. But it's important, because I actually think probably one of the bigger questions that was being asked of us was how mentally strong are you? Like, we've got quality across the pitch. We were always going to be a better side than Barrow in pretty much every department, but couldn't you just make it the game you want it to be? And this is basically what we did.
I think of all the games where we drop points in stoppage time, it's the Cheltenham game, isn't it? That's the one where we've not shown that bounce back performance, not picked ourselves off. And after the disappointment of Swindon, I think elsewhere though, we have had a pretty good record of doing that. And yeah, I'm the same as you, Caspell. Felt confident on Saturday. Because I know that going into those games where we've needed to sort of get the result, we have done it. So that I'm not on the preview pod, but that's giving me my little bit of confidence going into the weekend. And yeah, if some injuries aren't as bad as you initially thought when you see them limping off the pitch on Saturday, and if Lavery can be back, then it's all mixing in quite nicely. But let's focus a little bit on the weekend that's just gone. So, stupid question for me, Tom, but I'll ask it anyway. The win means Cambridge control their destiny on the final day. How significant and how positive is this?
Yeah, it's massive. And I think as much as we have and we'll talk about the idea of missed opportunities and the fact that it could and probably should have been done already, and then there's a conversation about should it just be promotion that we're talking about? Should we have made a more of a tilt at maybe going on and winning the league and all that sort of stuff, which I think is all valid and is all fair to speak about. The simple facts are that I think if you go into the last game of the season and you control your own destiny, and you know that for whatever it is that you want to achieve, whether it's in the Football League, playoff places, promotion, titles, staying up, as obviously it's been with us in the last few years, or if you look higher in the pyramid, things like achieving European places, that kind of stuff. Whatever it is that your ambitions are, whatever it is that your aims are, if you go into the last day of the season knowing that a particular result will get you over the line, I think you've basically done your job pretty well across the course of a season. So obviously credit has to go for that. You know, we know from recent experience that it being out of your hands is pretty, all right, it ended in obviously total elation with the Great Escape and everything, you know, the scenes that sort of followed that. But it being out of your hands is a pretty gut-wrenching experience. It's very nerve-wracking. And the idea that you could go to Crewe and basically do a job like we did on Saturday against Barrow, professional, dominant, look streets ahead of him, and not get what you want at the end of it is would have been pretty difficult to take. I'd also say that, like, I mean, I saw something earlier. We're obviously recording this on Sunday night, not long after the Wrexham game. They played Coventry away, and so Wrexham are obviously currently occupying 6th spot in the Championship. The final round of Championship games is next weekend as well. Wrexham could win, lose or draw their game on Saturday and get in the playoffs, and they could win, lose or draw their game and not get in the playoffs on Saturday. And that's like,
Wow.
you compare it to that scenario and you're like, we've got it pretty good, really, like all things considered. I know there'll be a bit of chat, and obviously we'll go into more detail on the preview show, of course, about it all, about how Crewe might line up and what changes they might make. They'll obviously be protecting their own best interest as well. But the facts are, like, it's a game that we should win. We're a better side than Crewe, and we've proved it over the course of a season. And if we can do that, obviously we get what we obviously get the reward at the end of it. I think the fact there's 2 teams chasing us makes it feel harder than it should be. But it is nice on Saturday, for the most part, you can pretty much switch your phone off and not worry about what's going on anywhere else, because if we do our job, then that's it. I guess it's also quite nice to have the safety blanket that if we do slip up, there's still a possibility. That we can achieve, what we want to. Clearly, we want to do it in style. We want to do it on our own terms. We don't want to put it down to chance, but in different ways. The 2 teams that we're competing with in Salford and Notts have got tricky fixtures of their own. Obviously, Notts going to or playing against a Bristol Rovers side who've been on incredible form over the last few weeks since Evans went in there, and obviously Salford going to Crawley, who
need a result.
But don't
make me say lofty.
They do need to get a result. So in different ways, they've got tricky tests of their own. But for us, having it in our own hands is absolutely massive. So fair credit to us, or them, I suppose.
One team we can't catch, Caspell, MK Dons. They win. They are promoted. They've also gone top. We've had a question from Adam. He asks, is anyone else outraged that MK are top?
Adam, do you know what? I'd be outraged if MK are not top of the league, given how much money they've spent. I said it yesterday, I still think they've had a shit season, even if they win the league. How on earth have they only just won the division?
I know what you mean.
You're looking at other divisions and their teams who won, who've won their division like 3 or 4 weeks ago, or at least got promoted a few weeks ago. Like, MK should have been a mile away from everybody else. So no, it's not great. It's not great that MK finished top. I'd rather we finish second than third. It's not something I care about massively, but I think it's better for us. So that means, I don't know. So we can't have Bromley doing anything on the last day, basically, if we want to finish second anyway. So because we still got that possible for us. So I don't know. Good for MK, I guess. Gives us, if we get it up, obviously gives us another localish away day. Quite a few of those in League One, I think, next year if we do make it. So, but no, I'm not. I can't say I'm too bothered about MK winning it. They definitely should have won the division. They probably should have had it wrapped up a while ago.
Yeah, I agree. Notts County won on Saturday. They beat Colchester, Caspell. Annoying that we can't discount them going into the final weekend. It'd be good to sort of just have one less team to think about.
It does make it seem. I mean, it obviously statistically makes it more difficult, but it does just add interesting possibilities. Obviously, if Notts win and we draw, then we'd still get promoted on goal difference. So there's at least that for us. But we'll all be staring at the phones. I think I just don't really want that to be how our season ends, if you know what I mean. Which is all of us staring at our phones. I'm curious. I always think there's a bit of like, I don't know. Do we want to make sure that we delay our game enough somehow that we're the last game to finish?
I see what you mean. Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? How do we engineer that? I feel like that's something that
you've got to get on the pitch, right? That's
You
how.
want me on? You want me on there? You're sending me on. We'll go Rochdale style.
Yeah.
Yeah. See if I can get laid.
Ideally.
You get on there, see if you can punch Boateng or something.
See if I can get laid out by someone. God. No, I'm just interested because surely all the teams are thinking about that because I don't know. We need to. Tom Walker's right. To be honest, it needs to be like phones off. No bet 365. Needs to be concentrating on what we're doing. And to be honest, like just win that game, win it comfortably. Crewe have lost 4 of their last 5 games. I know they've had a few tough fixtures, but we should just be. Well, we're
due an away result though.
We've not won away since February the 21st, but then Crawley have also only lost once at home since we beat them down at there. So like, there's quite a lot pulling in our. It is quite nice. There's quite a lot pulling in our favour, I would say. And the main thing is that we've just got to go there and just be when the stoppage time ball goes up, be 2-0 up in that Crewe game. Like, can you imagine if we're 1 goal ahead and there's 9 minutes added on time? Like, can you imagine what that's going to look like? Honestly,
are you angling for 3 points and winning the game, or are you angling for drawing, going up with 82 points to validate your claims?
Yeah, I hadn't even thought about that.
What scenario would you rather
have? Oh my God, yes, we've got a draw for 82 to be enough. I hadn't thought about that.
That's one thing that I kept saying during all the discussions that we had around 82 points. Will it or won't it be enough? Tell me now, how comfortable do you feel with the idea that 82 will be enough? Be honest.
I think there's a 50% chance that 82 is enough now.
You're not comfortable with it, are you? You're not as comfortable as you were before.
Caspell, Notts County could go up with 82 points. There's that scenario on Saturday. So
I suppose they could, yeah, if we lose. Yeah, I hadn't even thought about that. So
if we lose and Salford don't win,
tell you what, if that happens, I'll turn around to you, Tom Walker, just the full time whistle goes. Oh, I told you 82 enough. Notts just got up on 82.
That's probably the best example of an "I told you so" that I simply would not care for at that time if that's what happened.
Oh God, no! Oh God, I don't want to think about any of this. Basically, hopefully 82. That doesn't happen. Basically,
right. Plenty more run-in chat on the preview pod. Come back to us later in the week for that one. Let's talk about Saturday. I want to talk about pre-game first, if that's all right. So I don't want to go too deep into this topic because we will cover our own opinions on player of the season in our full season review. Like you said on the last preview, Caspell, I hope that pod is recorded and comes out sooner rather than later. However, both of you, I want your initial responses to the 3 prize winners that were announced before kickoff on Saturday. So that's Gibbo winning player of the season, Hodder winning young player of the season, and Kaikai's free kick at Fleetwood winning goal of the season. Initial thoughts on those 3. Tom?
Yeah, you feel a bit for Kel Watts, I think.
Yeah, fair.
But it's in a positive way, isn't it? Really, I mean, I don't really think individual awards are that important in football, but fair credit to Gibbo. I mean, he's like, well, I think what he's benefited from really is the fact that his influence recently has been. Maybe Ben Knight might have something to say about it, but I think probably his influence has been bigger than anybody's really over the last probably 6 to 8 weeks. When you think of goal contributions, defensive performances, everything else that goes into it, versatility, all that sort of stuff. So that's probably helped him a little bit. But I think I think really the big talking point for like a player of the season award is actually the fact that they're for the first time in a few years, there's actually a few options where you could really kind of make a case for. I'd probably have gone with Gibbons, to be honest. But I wouldn't argue with anybody who put a case forward for a Kel Watts, a Ben Knight, a Kai, for example, because some of these guys in their own right have had outstanding seasons. And obviously it's Gibbons that gets the club one. But yeah, I think it's just good that if you went around and you asked every individual person that was in the Abbey on Saturday, who would your player of the season been, you probably could have got 5 or 6 different answers realistically. And that's probably a sign of a good team as much as anything.
I think when the second goal goes in, you're probably only going to get one answer. What about you, Caspell? Thoughts on those 3 winners?
Well, I mean, the young player is really weird, isn't it? Because you have to be 22 is the max.
I was just checking. I was just checking Ben Knight's age.
Squad.
Yeah.
Well, I've looked at our entire squad, and the only people is Mayer, Kouassi, McConnell, Hoddle, or then you're into like anyone who hasn't played. Basically, they're the only eligible players.
Yeah.
So, I mean, obviously, well done to Hoddle. He's had a great breakthrough season. I think Adam Mayer, if he'd been a little bit more fit, available even 5 more games, you might be looking at him definitely. I mean, even for main player of the season.
I am stunned that Adam May is under 22.
Yeah. I'm also surprised by that, and now thinking he's been
21.
He's been hard done by. It's been hard done by for that one for me.
Maybe, I mean, lone player versus homegrown. I think you're always going to get more of a nod for homegrown. I mean, I think Walker's right. I'm not sure the players will really care. I think Kel Watts must be he must be one of the best performers season long to have not won player of the season. It's a testament to how well a lot of the squad has played, that you could have genuinely 5 or 6 different realistic players that you could mention for that. Kai goal this season. I think people love a ball in off the bar. It's very aesthetically pleasing to see a football hit the bar and go in. I voted for Knight's lob because I thought it was just technically outstanding, Knight's goal. But again, Gibbons has probably blown it all out of the water, right? Because that's got to be the goal of the season. Gibbo at the weekend, basically. So,
well, just on that name, Mr. James Gibbons, we've had a question from View from Bradwell Common. He simply asks Caspell, James Gibbons or Paul Wanless?
I'm not having that comparison yet. Sorry, Gibbo. If Gibbo does it for another 4 seasons, then yeah, we'll come back and we can have that debate.
You are speaking sense, because that was my initial response when I saw it as well.
Wally's there's like royalty at this football club, if you know what I mean. Gibbons has been great. He's had a fantastic season. He wasn't rated, and he's proven a lot of people wrong, including me. He's been terrific. I love that he's a leader. I love how consistent he is. I love how versatile he is. But Paul Wanless is like a club legend and one of my favourite players of all time, because he did it for years and years for us.
Yeah.
So,
it's
a nice comparison to make, but
until Gibbo puts the goalkeeper gloves on in an emergency, he's not even close to having this discussion. But
100%.
Tom, are you able to weigh in on that one, or Paul Wanless a bit before your time?
I think I really caught the arse end of him, to be honest. So yeah, probably not too much. So for me, I suppose I would say Gibbons, but
yeah, there we go.
It's probably not a fair comparison.
Right, let's talk about the game itself then, Tom. Same starting 11, but a rather significant change in that we went to the back 5. Were you happy to see that?
Yeah, I think so. Well, yeah, yes and no, to be honest. I mean, obviously, it was obviously an unchanged lineup, so you actually aren't really sure until the game gets started. And I think at the beginning of the game, yes, definitely. I know we saw a lot of the ball in the sort of first half hour or so, sort of, before we went ahead. But I actually was thinking after the sort of first 5-10 minutes, like, all right, I think defensively we've not looked quite as compact and quite as organised or structured with 4 at the back, and I think teams have been able to get at us just a little bit more when we've had 4 compared to 3 or 5. But the one thing they did do was I think coincide with us being a lot more creative and creating more opportunities for ourselves, and that, I think, it was something that maybe I felt we were lacking just a little bit at the start of the game. So yeah, I was happy to see it go back to 3 or 5, because I have felt more comfortable with that. But a lot of that's been based around our defensive, how solid and difficult to break down we've been. And it just felt like Saturday wasn't a game where that was ever going to be the main thing. Crewe on Saturday, I think probably yes. I think it's a game where we'll wheel out the catchphrase again. You do want to build yourself a bit of a platform to go and win the game, and that starts with being really resolute defensively and trying to limit what the opposition can chuck at you. 23rd place Barrow, probably not, to be honest. Like it's always a lot more about what you can do to them, and you back that. All right, you'll have enough at the back to kind of keep them out, and even if they do fashion a few opportunities, like they've obviously been terrible in front of goal all season. That's not just going to click into gear. You would have thought on one afternoon. So it's fine. I think realistically, sit and we can kind of dissect and analyze little tactical tweaks, formations, how many at the back, that sort of stuff. The fact is, we had 11 players on the pitch who were just much superior to the 11 players they are playing against, and at some point, realistically, quality was always going to come through. And we obviously found a way, but I don't think that was necessarily a result of changing the formation as much as just the fact we had a much, much, much better team.
Caspell mentioned this, Tom. I thought it was a strong start, but then quietened down quite quickly. How did you see the opening 30 minutes? Was there any point where you started going, I'm a little bit worried here that we've not taken a chance. We seem to be struggling to score against a team that are quite clearly very intent on parking the bus. Was there any part of you that was thinking this goal isn't coming, this is going to be a bad afternoon?
Yeah, well, I think one thing that 24 or 25 years of watching Cambridge United quite regularly does do to you is it does, even for the most positive people in the world, it must at least in part turn you into a pessimist. And I've definitely got a bit of that, more than a bit of that about me. So yes, is a simple answer to that. It was like what you wanted was for it to be exactly like Notts County, where was it minute 1, minute 2, get in front, calm the nerves, and just keep motoring on, keep going. But games aren't like that. Look, as poor as Barrow are, like they're not. You know, we've not roped in a Sunday League side to play against, right? Like they're still a professional outfit. They've got players with experience at this level, and it's not always going to be plain sailing. It's not always going to be easy. And obviously before the game and certainly after the game, it's easy to say that. But in the heat of the moment, yeah, there's definitely more than a bit of, ooh, this is taking a bit longer than I'd have liked it to. I don't know if it's the reason why or if it's just coincidence because of what I've said earlier about the fact that we just had better players and have better players and the quality would always come through. But did kind of feel like it coincided a bit with Brophy coming onto the pitch. I don't mean that in any way to denigrate Kai because he's obviously an excellent player in his own right, and I have no doubts that had he stayed on the pitch, we'd have still found a way, and probably he'd have been a big architect of that. But it does feel like we got better when Brophy came on, and that again, that might just be, the way it is when obviously one team is always going to be so dominant. But yeah, I don't think there was any particular reason for it. I think if anything, it's just a case of having to stay patient. Like there were a few times in the first half where you do have to like remind yourself like it's okay, like you've got a long way to go. And just because you're not ahead after 15, 20 minutes, it doesn't mean you need to be like biting your fingernails right down to the ends, and you don't need to be groaning every time a pass is slightly misplaced. Or probably the more frustrating one for me as a fan to hear sort of quite a lot of disappointment too and sort of anger about was just simple things like recycling the ball. Like the amount of times that Pelly Ruddock or Don Ball to pass it to each other, or maybe back to a full back or back to a centre back or something like that, which is totally reasonable and totally fair. And the amount of times that would have happened and it was met with like a big groan from around the ground, it was just strange. And one of those was actually leading up to the first goal as well, where I think we did the same thing, went side to side to side to side. And arguably, like you can say that we maybe need to move the ball quicker. And if you're going to have like 70-75% of the ball, like you do need to move it quickly, because Barrow are always just going to sit in. And arguably at points in the first half we didn't do that quite quick enough. But it was just simply a team finding their feet in the game, I think. And yeah, I think even though the nerves were jangling a little bit because the first goal did take longer than I'd have liked, I think there's always in the back of your mind a bit of calm, just because you did feel like at some point it had come. Had it taken 70 or 75 minutes for the first goal to come, yeah, I think then there'd have been a real sense of jeopardy about it. But I think when you're 25, 30 minutes in, I think you're always able to just go just before half time. That'll be fine.
Yeah, it's interesting you mentioned the Brophy substitution. I was crying for him to go wing back and push Mayer more central because of, I can't remember which performance it was recently, but Mayer had played there and had a good game. But yeah, it worked quite well, that substitution. And there was a point in the first half where Brophy and Knight were sort of swapping sides quite frequently, and yeah, sort of caused some real trouble for Barrow. The goal came, Caspell, in the 34th minute. How good was it, or how important was it, do you think, for Ben Knight to score after Tuesday and that penalty miss?
Yeah, I mean, he's always in the right place, the right time. His football IQ is obviously very high. It's a fairly easy finish. Obviously, takes it well. it's well put together. I mean, Don Ball does really well in the build-up, breaking up the play and then swinging that cross to Liam Bennett. Always nice to see Liam Bennett header in any guys, but obviously it's a really well-weighted header. So, yeah, good for Knight to get another goal. I mean, he was oozing confidence anyway. I think he's built he's shown a real mental resilience this season where he's coming back from these, these setbacks, I suppose. Same thing we said, I think, on I can't remember the review/preview pod last time out, but he's just so involved in these games that, yeah, obviously he's bound to have. There are going to be mistakes because he's just so involved in all of our attacking football. So no, he's not going to get everything right. But yeah, no, he's taken the finish really well. Good for him. Good for us. Obviously, he's like head and shoulders our top scorer now. Good to have someone in double figures, which is nice. That's been sort of on our back for, I guess, a little while as well. But to be honest, it's really important to get the goal in the first half, and just. Not that the nerves were there, but I think Tom Walker's right. You do hear the sort of groans around you. Just feel like people who've never. I just feel like surrounded sometimes by people who've never played football in there. They just don't understand like how football necessarily works. Like you need to move the ball side to side to create the space to then make your more incisive passes. I just think sometimes people around you are expecting us just to sort of steamroller these opposition like they're not professional footballers. So yeah, like we had to be a bit patient and sort of make our way there, but worth pointing out whilst, it took us a little while to break through. 35 minutes, obviously fine. We also suffered no goal threat of our own whatsoever at the other end. So I would agree with Walker. There was no real reason for nerves. I think if you got to an hour and it's still 0-0, I think that's when you would start to see it probably creeping in, I would say.
Discounting that Barrow free kick that we mentioned in the highlights there. No threats.
I'm having that.
Just on Ben Knight, Tom, obviously gets the first. He should get the second before half time. And again, a lovely move. Like Caspell says, he's found himself in the right place at the right time. He skied it sort of both high and wide. Is this just the payoff that we have to accept that at the moment, at least, that, he's this really talented guy, but he's still learning, hasn't played that many games. And with time, he will become more potent and he'll be more than just getting the sort of the 1 in 4, 1 in 5 chances. And when that happens, his ceiling is obviously then going to take him beyond the club. So enjoy it while we've got it.
I think it is pretty much that, really. I think we're all realistic enough. Hopefully everyone listening to this is realistic enough to know that if a footballer of Ben Knight's age, his profile, is finding himself regularly scoring 2 and 3 goals every week, he ain't gonna stick around, basically. And arguably there's a world where you say, actually, we don't really want this guy to stick around forever because, as good as he is, obviously there's a lot of upside in him potentially getting a good move. And obviously for him, he'll certainly see his future at a higher level than us. But yeah, I think there's a little bit of that. I mean, look, clearly the encouraging thing, and it's much easier to sit here and say this after Saturday's game against Barrow than it was after Tuesday's game against Grimsby. But the fortunate thing is he's consistently getting in the right places. Mm-hmm. And you feel for a player of his quality, it's not going to be too long until that turns into consistently getting on the score sheet. Well, I guess he has been getting consistently on the score sheet, really, but consistently punishing teams. I don't know loads about what Ben Knight's game was before he came to us, but some sources might not be fair, but it does feel like Neil Harris had a real impact on him and really been able to work with him, particularly to get into the right places at the right time. That's a trait that will serve him so well. And I mean, if he can continue doing that, then you would back him to become a real asset to us and probably a bigger club with deeper pockets in sort of years to come. So yeah, there's that. I mean, the other thing I'd say about Knight, and I think we've kind of spoken about it. I think actually it's probably since Crewe at home, which feels like he didn't even start the game. I think he came off the bench, but that feels like his kind of breakthrough game, really. Yeah. And again, it's a comparison which I know is kind of sacrilege to everybody associated. But I remember during the last promotion season, Wes had one of those breakthrough games against Leyton Orient at home when he finally got into his right position. He finally found his feet and his role in the side, and from there he just never looked back. And it does feel like we've had that with Ben Knight really since that Crewe game a little bit. Arguably not to the same effect, and I'm not going to try and make that comparison.
Well, I don't know. I'm looking at his numbers now. He scored 10 goals this calendar year.
Oh, yeah, but come on. Like, come
10
on.
goals this calendar year. That's a
Yeah.
lot, mate. That's him. He's basically performing like
Yeah,
a
I
20
know.
goal
I
a season
know.
player.
And
He's just only
what
done it for half a season.
Yeah, and what you're saying is filled with logic, and I don't disagree with what you're saying at all. But as much as you have to be very careful when you're comparing James Gibbons to Paul Wallace, you have to be extra careful if you're going to make the worst comparisons properly.
You don't think that 90 on the pitch at Crewe with a pint of Guinness? You don't see it? Maybe the Smirnoff Ice. Maybe the Smirnoff Ice for him.
Oh, what a
Well,
photo that would be.
well, look, if he does the same thing against Crewe and it gets us promoted, and you ask me immediately after the game, I guarantee I'll come to you with a very different answer. But the one thing that I was going to say, and I've mentioned it a couple of times, but I do think it's worth repeating because I do think it's a real positive sign for him as particularly a younger player in that sort of role. Is just how desperate he is for the ball. I think that's such a good sign. Like probably not Ben Knight. It feels harsh to pick anyone out, but like players of that sort of profile that occupy that bit of the pitch, I think they do have a bit of a tendency of going missing and sort of not demanding the ball enough. I think maybe there's an argument Knight can be just a bit more arrogant on the pitch because he has the ability, and sometimes it's like you want him trying stuff over doing the obvious thing just because he's got the ability to do it. And sometimes there's an argument where it's like why are you passing the ball? Because whoever you're passing the ball to is not going to be able to do as much with it as you can. That kind of thing. But that's the conversation for another time. But yeah, I mean, look, he obviously should score a second goal before half time. Then it really is feet up, deck chairs out sort of thing. If you're tuning up at half time against a Barrow team like that, obviously did leave us still with a bit of work to do. But I think on the basis of what happened on Saturday and what the end result is and how it leaves us, we are fortunate in a position where we can say it's just good to see him get in those areas.
I'm really racking my brain to think of a player that I've liked so much, but I've spent so many times going, but he should have scored a second today, or should have scored a third today, should have got a hat trick today. It's been a while. Okay, go in at half time, 1-0 up. Caspell, lots of early chances in the second half. Ben Knight again. Ben Knight involved in the Brophy chance, I think it was. Yeah, how were you feeling at that point? We were having
I was
lots
feeling
of
pretty
yeah,
sad.
lots of
Yeah.
you know where the question's going. Not getting the second goal and the clock ticking down. Yeah, you feeling fine?
It didn't go long enough, I guess. Maybe if we'd gone a bit later, you'd start to be thinking that way.
Some lovely football in that time, though, right? A
I
lot of it.
think it was that. I think it was that feeling that we came out pretty strong in the second half. We were creating quite a lot of chances, and I was really, I mean, Barrow again were not up to a huge amount, and I just felt like it was starting to feel to me inevitable that the second goal was coming. So I felt pretty relaxed as soon as we took the lead. I felt pretty chilled out. Like I was pretty confident we would go on and get another goal, starting to obviously keep a close eye on some of those other games. Obviously, Notts stayed pretty tight the whole way. So that was drawing quite a lot of my attention in that second half. Obviously, fortunately, I was looking up at the right time for Gibbo. But
Yeah, second goal comes on the 57th minute. Then how fitting was it, Caspell?
what a goal.
How
Mate.
fitting was it that it was Gibbo on the day that he gets Player of the Season?
Well, it's just one of those things where in real time, obviously, you see it and you really enjoy it. And it's that sort of goal celebration where the goal is important. You're celebrating it fairly vociferously, but it's the quality of the goal meant people are genuinely, you've got no time to think about it. It's just banged at the top corner. So the celebration was pretty big in the NRL. So I hurt my shoulder doing it, which is great. So got rest up now for Crewe. Hopefully hurt myself again at Crewe celebrating another goal. When I saw it in real time, I didn't really realise until I watched it back on the highlights. In my head, I was like, oh, he's run onto that and he's just hit it. But when you watch it back on the highlights, it's like he's a standing start, if you know what I mean. He's just pushed it out in front of him.
Yeah, it's like one step. Yeah.
It makes it even more impressive, the amount of, just the pure technique, how well he strikes that ball, and obviously the accuracy. And I just love his confidence at the moment that he's able to make, as well as being part of the best defensive unit in the division by a comfortable distance. He's added this sort of attacking threat as well. It's just like absolutely brilliant. Who was it on the pod? Was it you, Walker, the other week? Said he's going to go on like a little Harrison Dunk run and make some significant impacts with goals. It's a great shout.
That was a comparison I made yesterday as well. Yeah, I mean, it's just weird with these things. Like, there's no particular reason for it, but sometimes it just feels like a certain player will really define a run of form in key moments. Obviously, in that Great Escape year, it was Dunk. It felt like every time you looked up and you needed a moment or you needed a goal, you're like, he's just going to pop up with it, and he did every week. And Gibbons is kind of in that spot as well at the moment. I'm still kind of reeling off his goal against Notts County, the one where he brings it down and slams it into the top corner, and then he did that. Yeah. Just on the goal itself, while I've got a moment, I do want to re-emphasise just how vociferously I was yelling at him to pass that ball out wide.
So many people around me. It's like, don't do it. I can hear people. I wasn't telling him to shoot. I was just stood there. Just so many people I could hear around me, like, oh, even as he knew he was going to shoot.
I think it's because at the time, and it's funny how you see these things different in the cold light of day afterwards, but when I watched the highlights, I was like, it'd have been balming for him not to shoot. He had so much space and time, and he's only like 21, 22 yards out, something like that. Of course he has to shoot. But in the moment, it did feel like he was about 60 yards from goal. And it's like, just pass the ball. Just like, please just pass it. But yeah, brilliant for him.
What it felt like to me at the time was we had all these chances. He's clearly just frustrated we've not got a second goal. So he's got the ball at his feet and gone, fuck it. And just absolutely levered it.
There is also, I just want to mention, there is obviously the club put out a lot of good content, and I love the sort of different angles of the goals they post and that sort of stuff. But they have posted an absolute belter of a photograph.
I was going to say, yeah.
The one for the back of the NRA.
Yeah.
Hang it in the Louvre.
I do want to firstly question how on earth they've got the picture, because that's in a part of the NRE where I imagine getting good real-time still photographs is probably quite difficult. But yeah, it's just brilliant. It captures it at the perfect moment. So big props to whoever's done that.
Have you two noticed Kel Watts in the highlights when the goal goes in?
Yeah, it's pretty good. No one's ever topping when Greg Taylor scored.
It's Luke Berry vibes when Greg Taylor scores that worldie. Which sort of does this.
It's definitely the vibe, but no one's ever touching that Taylor goal. Very, very reaction.
It's the reaction of a man that's annoyed at anyone player of the season, perhaps. But I really enjoyed it because I didn't notice it at first, and I think after like the third or fourth viewing, I was like, yeah, good Watts content that. Obviously, Kai won goal of the season for his Fleetwood goal, his free kick. But does that win Gibbo's own goal of the season tournament, which is a pretty good selection of goals anyway? Tom, you've mentioned one. I'm still not topping the header from the floor against Notts County personally. But yeah, it's quite a little tournament he's got going.
He scored that ghost goal the other week as well. The one that hit the side net. I'm pretty sure that went in as well. Mate, what a guy. I think this is our goal of the season. I don't think it really matters, but I'm sure Gibbons won't really care. But I'm pretty sure that's the best goal he scored this season.
Do you think they talk about it in the dressing room afterwards? An injured Kai has the little trophy taken off him. Can't do that, can they? Yeah,
it's not something Harris might do. I don't know. Kel.
He's also I'm just looking at his numbers here. Like, he's also got 6 assists as well. So like, he's contributed to a hell of a lot of goals.
It's insane. Yeah.
Just want to mention like a couple of players that he's scored the same amount of goals as. By the way, while we're on this, I'm just scrolling through.
No. Why are you making this negative?
It's not Apre, is it? Yeah.
No. This is anything but negative. He actually might score more than Apre. Ched Evans at Fleetwood. He scored the same amount as Ched Evans has scored 6. Here's one for you. Aaron Collins at MK Dons. He scored the same amount of goals. They spent, the thick end of £1 million on him. Obviously, one of those goals came against us in the 96th minute, but it's still good for Gibbo to have scored the same amount as him. Ollie Clark at Swindon, their captain, the one that sent whose suspension sent Ian Holloway into maybe the funniest rant of all time. Kel Watts. There you go. There's obviously a bit of a contest going on there. There's plenty of others, but yeah, it's worth mentioning that he's been able to contribute. I think I think it might have been Swindle did a pre-season prediction maybe a year or two ago where it was something along the lines of we're gonna have multiple defenders scoring loads of goals. Was that it? It might have been you, Caspell. I can't remember.
It wasn't me. I think that was Swindle. Fair play to him. I mean, wrong season.
Well. Yeah, wrong season, so factually incorrect. But yeah, it's good to see it came true at some point.
I think it might be me defending goals. That's yeah. I think I was thinking that we're going to be really good at set pieces, so we'd have loads of defender goals. Anyway, speaking of goals from set pieces, the third goal goes in. Tom, give me your thoughts on this one.
duty bound to mention that it's kind of an Olympico.
Yeah.
Which was, who was it scored from a corner? Was it
Brophy? Yeah.
Yeah, Brophy. Which obviously is the first time that I've ever found out it was called an Olympico. But that's kind of what happened.
Was it the same? It was the same corner as well. Same.
Yeah.
And definitely same end. I'm pretty sure it's the same corner. Yeah, it would have been left footed.
It's called
Kind
an
of different.
Olympico. I sound like such a boomer here. An Olympico.
Yeah.
So Farsley Celtic did an Olympico to us, is what you're telling me. That's in the history books. Yeah. Okay, great.
I mean, it's not like it won't be in many history books. I'll say that. But,
bring the mood down, Caspell. God.
Yeah. I mean, it is a funny one because that goalkeeper was getting a hell of a lot of stick, and there's something brilliant about a goalkeeper, an opposition goalkeeper, totally losing their mind in front of the NRE where the game's going like the way it was, and he was firmly in that bracket. He can join Will Norris in the fan club of goalkeepers who have totally wilted under the pressure of the NRE, which arguably is not like the bear pit that it might have been once, but still, anyway, good to see. So in the time I was in the moment, and admittedly from our vantage point in the NRE, we don't have necessarily the best view on everything that's happening, but anyhow, I just thought it was a tragic goalkeeping that basically resulted in it going in, and couldn't really work out how it ended up in the back of the net. But there's a good picture. Again, I think it comes from one of the alternative angles that the club have posted where Elliot Nevitt is just quite simply holding the goalkeeper.
He's holding his hand. Yeah. He's being fouled at the time, but then also committing a foul. So,
but like obviously because it's an absolute bundle in the box as it always is at corners, you cannot see it from the highlights, and I couldn't see it in real time. It's just uniquely brilliant shithousing from Elliot Nevitt. Fair play to just simply hold the goalkeeper's hands from a corner. It's just a really, really good effort.
They were livid after that goal. They chased down the lino. Stanway, the goalkeeper, got a yellow for protesting. And I didn't see it at the time. Similar to you guys, obviously a better angle from the main stand. It looked like the keeper just absolutely lost it.
Yeah, really, really, really good for Mayer though. I mean, I obviously it's a weird goal to dissect because clearly there's obviously a foul in there, and obviously it's probably after the foul, probably not great goalkeeping, and obviously it's kind of a bit of a gift really for us. But it's worth mentioning for Adam Mayer, like it's a really good delivery, if nothing else. Obviously it causes problems, and that's what you want when you have set plays, give the opposition something to think about. And all right, normally. It comes from us being able to force the issue more so than the goalkeeper chucking it in his own net. But, I guess you take what you can get. Also, while we're on Elliot Nevitt, probably obviously not had as many mentions as he might like on the pod, but I think he's been good when he's come on in the last couple of games. I thought he was decent against Grimsby. I think he makes good runs. I think he puts himself around well. You would like him to have got off the mark at, against Barrow, because he felt like there's a real opportunity for him to do that. But there's another opportunity against one of his former sides next week, so maybe we'll save it for that. But good things all round. And at this point, I've got to be honest, I was thinking this is going to be a massive score. Like they're going to really start to fold. Keeper's obviously losing his mind. They're defending terribly. We're starting to hit a bit of a stride. And I can't remember what minute it was now. Let's have a look. It was in
the goal. The goal was 74.
74. All right. So there's not long left, but it did feel like it was a bit of opportunity.
20 minutes.
Yeah, like an opportunity is there basically to kind of rack up a bit of, a couple more. But just good stuff all around.
We've had a question from Simon. He asks, scrappy bundled over goal, absolute thunder bastard goal, and comedy keeper gaff goal. Is that the holy trinity of goals?
Bit harsh on Penn Knight to call it scrappy bundled over. He volleys it in and then he gets pushed over. It's a bit harsh.
Well, keeper gets a touch and it sort of bobbles in a bit. Yeah.
I guess. All right. Sorry, Simon. Being very pedantic. Is that the holy trinity of goals? I don't know. Gibbo was on the perfect hat trick the other week, wasn't he? Like, that's the holy trinity, surely. Gibbo gets the perfect hat trick at Crewe.
Was it Ironside, Cheltenham away, Tom Walker birthday? Left foot, right foot, headed goal?
I think that was a perfect hat trick. Yeah. They're pretty rare species of Cambridge United thing. Can't imagine we've done it many times. 3 goals at home is obviously just good. So we like a comedy keeper gaff, but save it. Do that at Crewe. Let's get that at Crewe instead.
Right. Last question to end the pod on. Obviously, it's a bit too early to know. We'll pick this up in more details in the preview. But Kai goes off, looks injured. Watts goes off, looks injured. Ben Knight, when he came off, looked a bit uncomfortable. Neil Harris spoke a lot after the game about fresh legs and keeping people fresh, and that's why he did changes. So what's the impact for each of those three if they're not available next weekend?
Harris will reveal nothing about injuries in this press conference. He will not talk about a single individual player, I reckon. But yeah,
I think the impact if Kai and Knight are unavailable is obviously pretty big. That'd be a blow, to be honest. But I think particularly Knight, I think you kind of make your peace with the fact that Kai was obviously forced him out of that game, and Saturday might be out of the question for him. But again, like, we'll see. It is the time of the season now where, like, if players are like 60% fit and they're like a Kai or Shane Lavery, like, you just roll the dice, you just stick him on the bench in the event that you might need a goal with, even if it's like 3 or 4 minutes on the clock. Like, I remember Southgate's in the Euros just gone, the famous moment where Southgate subbed on Ivan Toney in the 94th minute against Slovakia, and it's like, why the fuck are you bringing him on now? And then we end up getting an equaliser and he sets up the winner. Slight tangent, but you know, it kind of compares a little bit. Like it is obviously difficult to say. I think, you know, hopefully the Watts sub is precautionary. It feels like it probably was. Also feels like it might have been quite a nice opportunity to get Morrison on the pitch for a few minutes, which may be his last for the club. I guess again that's that's even further down the line to think about, I suppose. But yeah, I think if Ben Knight's in there, Brophy's a really good option to come in and play in place of Kai. Allows us to get Mayo a little bit higher up the pitch, which I think is no bad thing. And yeah, look, we'll just have to see on Saturday. There's going to be a lot of that. Like, there's going to be a lot of the conversations that go around over the next couple of weeks where you sort of pose scenarios and you talk about, possible happenings, and you spend ages and ages talking about the game. And at the end of it, it's all just punctuated by just going, anyway, we'll see what happens, won't we? That's we can only wait.
It's a great preview pod, yeah.
Yeah, it's just gonna be like several minutes of just pure speculation. But yeah, look, we'll see. Caspell's absolutely right to that Harris won't reveal anything. I think he'll be pretty tight-lipped on it. If anything, I'm more interested to see how Crewe line up, because I think there was a hint from their manager that they're going to really change things up for Saturday. Which on the face of it feels good. If they can sort things out, that'd be great. However, those of us that are old enough to remember Harrogate away in the last promotion year, when they changed, I think 10 players and played a basic reserve team, because they had the previous season's FA Trophy final on the following Monday to contend with for some reason, and then the reserve striker Brendan Kiernan rocks up and scores a hat-trick against us. Fans of that sort of thing will probably be looking at this with one eye shut, to be honest. But let's see.
Well, we will discuss that in more detail in the preview pod. That will be with you Friday. Of course, it's going to be a long week, so good luck, everyone, keeping cool. Caspell, a lot of talk in this pod about the Smirnoff Ice. I'm wondering if you know any pubs around the Ferry Path region that I might be able to partake in some sort of discounted Smirnoff Ice action.
Smirnoff Ice and a skepasti combo. Not saying I've done yet, but any minute now, I'm sure. Obviously, our friends, the Old Spring, up on Ferry Path.
Absolutely. So yeah, big thank you to our sponsors this season, the Old Spring. As always, do check out undertheabbeystand.com to find out more about our coconut tier and the additional content you get there. Caspell, it's been a pleasure, mate. Thank you.
That's it, mate. One more time.
Tom, we didn't get to talk about Kachunga being on the bench. We'll save that for another time.
Elias.
Well, with the greatest of will in the world, the greatest respect, even though I think it's probably not a bad thing to have more attacking options on the bench. Hopefully we don't get the opportunity to speak about it again. But just one more to go, hopefully.